These cinnamon rolls are not difficult, although they do take time. If you haven't worked with yeast, don't be intimidated. As long as your yeast is fresh, these should work out just fine. Soft, fluffy, gooey throughout, and perfect in every way you want a cinnamon roll to be. While they take some time, they're easy and fun to make. These can be made with a stand mixer or kneaded by hand. Make and bake or refrigerate overnight and bake in the morning. Ingredients for cinnamon rolls. Yeast. This cinnamon roll recipe uses active dry yeast, not instant yeast, which is mixed with a bit of sugar and warm water. The yeast should get nice and foamy, and if it doesn't, it likely is dead and shouldn't be used. Flour. I like to use all-purpose flour in baking as it's a flour most of us have on hand. Bread flour will work in place of all-purpose flour in this recipe. Butter and eggs. Butter and eggs should be at room temperature. Eggs add a nice, rich flavor and help with the rise, as well as add a nice fluffy texture. Of course, butter adds flavor, much like it does in brioche bread. It also helps with a lovely texture. Filling. Once the dough is risen and rolled into a rectangle, butter is spread on top. The cinnamon swirl in this cinnamon roll recipe is a combination of brown sugar and ground cinnamon. We prefer brown sugar because of the caramely flavor it adds, but white sugar will work. Dark or light brown sugar can be used in this recipe. Cinnamon roll ingredients in bowls on a wooden board. How to make cinnamon rolls. Proof yeast. Combine the yeast with warm water and sugar. This is called proofing or blooming. The yeast should foam up like the photo below. Make dough. Warm milk and butter. The microwave makes this easy. Stir in the remaining dough ingredients in the recipe below, including the yeast mixture. I use a stand mixer, but have included tips below the recipe if you don't have a stand mixer. Knead. Knead the dough until it's nice and smooth. Continue kneading until the texture is smooth and elastic. Rise. Let the dough rise for an hour or so until it's doubled in size. Steps for making cinnamon rolls. Add sugar and roll it out flat, spread with softened butter, sprinkle with cinnamon sugar. Roll it up and cut. Rise and bake. Place in a prepared baking dish and bake until golden brown. Once rolled into a long log, you will want to cut your cinnamon rolls. While you can use a serrated knife, a piece of dental floss makes the task extra easy. It cut through the rolls evenly without squishing the soft dough. Be sure it's not flavored floss. Nobody wants minty cinnamon rolls. Cutting cinnamon rolls with floss. Cinnamon roll icing. I'm not going to lie, this is my favorite part. Beat cream cheese, butter, vanilla, powdered sugar, and a little salt in a large bowl, per recipe below. While some cinnamon rolls use a glaze, I don't find it adds much flavor, and a real frosting really makes them next level. Ensure the rolls are cooled, or almost cooled, or the butter in the frosting will melt. Homemade cinnamon rolls in a pan with cinnamon sticks on the side. Tips for perfection. All ingredients should be at room temperature. Double-check the expiry on your yeast packet or jar, especially if you don't use it often. Expired yeast can make your rolls fall flat. If you're unsure, use this yeast testing method to check your yeast. Rise the dough in a warm place, cover lightly with a kitchen towel. Add chopped pecans, coconut, or raisins on top of the cinnamon sugar mixture if desired. If rolls begin to brown too much, cover loosely with foil. To make the night before. These cinnamon rolls can be made ahead of time and refrigerated overnight. Once rolled, place the rolls in a greased 9x13 pan and cover with plastic wrap. Remove the rolls from the fridge, remove the plastic wrap and cover with a towel. With the oven turned off, place rolls in the oven and place a bowl or pan of very hot water in the oven next to the rolls. Allow to rise 45 minutes or until doubled in size. Storing leftovers. Cinnamon buns can be stored at room temperature for 2 to 3 days.